So have you ever, thought about what happens when like the art world goes digital?
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
like one of those things now where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
we're talking about NFTs and like
NFTs are everywhere, right?
NFTs are everywhere, but we're talking about some really interesting NFTs today, right?
Absolutely. And especially like how they're intersecting with this more traditional art
Right.
world.
Like not just like
Yeah,
bored apes or something.
exactly.
We're talking about
Yeah.
actual like fine art that's being turned into NFTs. And
The wild thing is these are pieces from the winners of like a really prestigious art award. Have you heard the Michele Cea Award?
I have, yeah, it's been around for almost a decade now, right?
Yeah, like almost a decade. So this is a big deal.
Yeah.
It's not just like some online art contest.
No, it's a big deal in the art world for sure.
Yeah. So this year for this deep dive, we're taking a look at the intersection of fine art and NFTs through the lens of the Michele Cea Award.
Yeah. Because it's not just, like I said, it's not just some online thing.
Huh.
This award comes with some serious recognition in the art world. And not just that the winner gets like 3D 500 Kimber.
Yeah, that's a good chunk of change.
That's a good chunk of change for sure.
Especially for emerging artists, like that could be a game changer.
Right.
Yeah,
Like to help them, pay the rent and buy art supplies,
exactly.
but also to like really kickstart their career.
Yeah, get their name out there.
Yeah. And the other cool thing is the Cea Foundation. They're the ones who run this whole award. Well, for the second year in a row now, they've teamed up with this tech company, Hoken to turn some of the winning artwork into NFTs.
Oh, wow.
So we're talking about taking these physical pieces and giving them a whole other life in the digital world.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. Like, what does ownership even mean in the digital age, right?
Yeah.
Is it owning the physical canvas, or is it owning this unique digital signature that's now attached to it?
That's such a good point. And, we've been throwing around NFT this and NFT that, but
Right.
like, can you break it down for us who maybe aren't as familiar with the tech side of things?
Sure. So NFT stands for non-fungible token. And basically, you can think of it like this. Imagine you have a piece of digital art.
Oh.
Minting an NFT is like taking that digital file and turning it into a one-of-a-kind, verifiable asset
Right.
on a blockchain.
So it's like giving it like a digital fingerprint
Exactly.
so that, nobody can copy it, nobody can fake it.
That's a great way to put it. And because it's all recorded on blockchain, it's transparent, it's secure.
Okay.
You can always trace the history of an NFT, who created it, who's owned it, where it is now.
That's actually really cool when you think about like how in the art world, there's always that issue of like forgeries
Oh, yeah.
and provenance and trying to figure out like, is this the real deal?
Absolutely.
But with this, it's like, it's all right there.
It's all out in the open.
Yeah. So for this year's Cea Award, what pieces of art got the NFT treatment?
Well, this year they chose 4 really fantastic pieces.
Okay.
There's Woman with Red Handkerchief
Okay.
by Vittorialessa Brunetti,
Okay.
and then Gap in the Sky by Gioele Provenzano,
Wow.
Dead Times by Francesca Brivio,
Okay.
and Liquid Short Circuit by Elena Grossi.
Wow. So they chose like a nice variety then.
Yeah, they run the gamut.
Yeah.
Like you've got everything from abstract concepts to like really striking figurative works.
And these are all up on the blockchain now.
They are, yeah.
And they're on the EOS blockchain, which
Wow.
I will admit I didn't know a ton about before we started looking into this whole thing. But in doing the research for this deep dive, I learned that they've actually been climate positive since 2023,
Oh, wow.
which I was like really impressed by.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, because, one of the big things with NFT,
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they're relying so heavily on renewable energy sources,
right?
I think that's really important, especially for artists who are mindful of their environmental footprint.
Right. So it's like they can kind of, walk the walk and talk the talk at the same time.
Exactly.
So for those of our listeners who are like, hey, I need to get my hands on one of these, where can they go?
They can head over to the AtomicHub marketplace.
Okay.
That's where all these NFTs are being hosted.
And that's like a well-known,
It's a good one. Yeah, it's very reputable.
so you don't have to worry about like, shady dealings. No.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I think one of the really cool things about platforms like AtomicHub is that it makes art accessible to people who maybe wouldn't have been able to participate in like the traditional art market.
That's true. Because if you want to buy a painting, it's like
You need deep pockets.
you need deep pockets.
Yeah.
But for this, it's like, you can get it on the ground floor, maybe?
You can start small.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool, I think, that it's like opening up all these doors, both for artists and for art lovers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is something that's really only possible because of NFTs.
Right. And I mean, it really makes you wonder, like, are we witnessing some kind of like digital renaissance here?
Well, when you think about it, like all the traditional players in the art world, the galleries, the museums, the critics, like, are they going to adapt or are they going to get left behind?
Those are some seriously big questions, and we're going to tackle them right after this quick break.
It's really interesting to think about, like, what's the big draw for these artists,
Yeah. Because, I mean, is it really just about the money? Or is there something more to it?
Well, I think it's definitely not just about the money, although obviously
Yeah.
that's a huge factor for any artist.
Yeah, you got to pay the bills.
Exactly. Nobody wants to be a starving artist.
Right.
But I think what's really exciting about NFTs is the control that it gives back to the creators.
Yeah, because I've heard some artists talk about how, frustrating it can be to navigate the traditional art world
Oh, absolutely.
with like galleries and agents and all that stuff.
All the gatekeepers, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, with NFTs, you can cut out the middleman completely
Right.
and sell your work directly to collectors.
And I imagine that probably also means that you get to keep a lot more of the profits,
Exactly.
which is huge.
Yeah, it's a game changer for sure.
And I think the other cool thing that you kind of touched on earlier is this idea of like connecting with a wider audience.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because, I mean, before, if you were an artist, you were kind of limited by, geography and who you knew and who happened to walk into your, gallery showing or whatever.
Right.
But with this, it's like somebody in Tokyo could stumble upon your work online and be like,
Exactly.
whoa.
It opens up a whole new world
Yeah.
of potential collectors and fans.
Yeah. Are there any like potential downsides to this whole NFT revolution?
Well, I think, like with any new technology, there are going to be some bumps in the road.
Okay.
One of the big concerns that comes up a lot is this idea of accessibility
Okay.
and digital literacy.
Okay. So like not everybody.
Not everybody is tech savvy.
Right.
Right. Like not everybody is comfortable navigating blockchain and cryptocurrency
Right.
and online marketplaces.
Especially artists. I mean,
Yeah.
some of them are like, they want to work with their hands.
Exactly.
Well, not necessarily with a computer.
Right. So there's definitely a learning curve there.
Yeah.
And then, the other concern that you have to think about is the potential for scams and fraud,
Right.
which, I mean, unfortunately, that's going to be a problem in any emerging market.
Yeah. So you kind of have to be careful of who you're buying from and what platforms you're using.
Absolutely. Do your research.
Okay.
Make sure you're buying from reputable sources.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important to remember that, we're still very much in the early days of NFTs.
Oh, for sure.
It's kind of like the Wild West out there.
Right. Right.
There's a lot of potential, but there are also a lot of pitfalls.
I like that analogy.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like the Wild West of art right now.
exactly.
So like with any kind of gold rush, you got to be careful you don't get swindled.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's this huge potential for, growth and innovation.
Absolutely.
Really exciting.
Yeah, and I think this is maybe the start of like a whole new art movement,
Yeah.
kind of like a digital renaissance.
Yeah. And with any kind of big shift like that, there are going to be some growing pains.
Of course.
But I think the possibilities are like pretty mind-blowing.
Oh, they are. I mean, imagine a world where artists can collaborate with each other across continents
Wow.
and create these unique pieces that exist both in the physical and digital realm.
Wow.
Or think about museums being able to curate these virtual exhibitions
Oh, wow.
that anyone with an internet connection can experience.
That's amazing.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. That's really cool.
So yeah, there are definitely challenges. But I think the potential here is just massive.
Okay. So speaking of challenges,
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear your take on this whole debate about the artistic merit of NFTs.
Oh,
Because I know there's some people out there who think it's just a fad,
right.
that it's just a bunch of JPEGs being sold for ridiculous amounts of money.
Sure. And, the art world can be a tough crowd to please.
Right.
But I think it's important to remember that every new art movement throughout history has faced its share of criticism and skepticism.
Yeah. It's like every time there's something new, it's like people are like, oh, this is not art.
Right.
But then like 100 years later, it's like hanging in a museum somewhere.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
the Impressionists, they were ridiculed back in the day.
Right.
And now look at them.
Exactly. So, I mean, it kind of makes you wonder, like, is it just a matter of time before people start to see the artistic value in this stuff too?
Well, I think it's already happening. I mean, you see some really incredible art being created in the NFT space.
Yeah.
And it's not just about like, the aesthetics. It's about the concept behind it, the message, the experience that it creates.
Right. And like with NFTs, it's almost like it's blurring the lines between like what we even consider art to be.
Totally.
Because you have the digital asset, which is, unique thanks to the blockchain.
Right.
But then you also have this whole other layer of like the concept or the experience that the NFT represents.
Exactly. And that's what I think is so fascinating about it. It's like suddenly we're not limited by the constraints of the physical world anymore.
Right?
Like artists can create these immersive digital experiences, interactive installations,
Aw.
pieces that can evolve over time based on like the collector's interaction with them.
That's wild. Like it's not even just a static thing anymore.
Right.
It's like it has its own life.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
for the collector, it's not just about owning something, it's about participating in this creative process,
Wow.
becoming part of the story.
So it's almost like NFTs are kind of changing how we even think about like art ownership.
For sure. I think it's challenging our assumptions and pushing the boundaries of what art can be.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into this whole world of NFTs and the Michele Cea Award, what's like the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
I think if there's one thing to remember, it's that we're really just at the beginning of this whole thing. Like,
Right.
the NFT world is constantly evolving, and it's such an exciting time to be paying attention.
Right.
So whether you're an artist, a collector, or just someone who appreciates creativity and innovation,
Right.
keep an open mind and don't be afraid to explore this new world because you might be surprised by what you find.
Yeah, I love that. And for our listener who want to learn more about the incredible artists we've been talking about, Vittorialessa, Gioele, Francesca, and Elena, we'll be sure to link to their websites and social media in the show notes.
Great. Yeah, definitely check them out.
Yeah, so go check out their work. And hey, maybe you'll even end up buying your first NFT.
Who knows? You might get bitten by the bug.
Exactly. All right, until next time, keep those creative sparks flying.
See you later.
Bye.